To the 2013 Blacksburg Town Council Forum. First of all, I'd like to introduce our co-sponsors with the League of Women Voters, the Montgomery Radford Floyd branch of the NAACP, the Virginia Interfaith Center for Public Policy, New River Valley Chapter, and the News Messenger. Our moderator, Alvin Humes, is president of the local branch of the NAACP. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce Spencer Saunders, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The video of this forum will be available on a link at our website, lwvmcva.org. This is explained in the brochure, and it will be replayed on Blacksburg Local Access Cable TV, WTOB Channel 2. The forum guidelines and the Blacksburg Town Council Voters Guide have been distributed to the audience. Copies of all the voter guides will be on our website. Paper copies of the voter guides for all the Montgomery County candidates will be in the public libraries. Voter guides for the governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general are on Vote 411. That's www.411.org. You can also find your polling place and your district on that website. It is our custom to have non-Blacksburg residents play the important roles in the Blacksburg Town Council forums, and non-Christiansburg residents play important roles in the Christiansburg Town Council forums. Our screeners today are Mary North, Bill White, Beverly Fleming. Our timers, Phyllis Albritton and Nick Gahagan. Also assisting will be Carol Linker, Elaine Head, Mary Lowe, and Mary Hauska. We encourage you to ask questions. Helpers will give you index cards to write down your questions. They will then collect them, and screeners will review them, mostly for duplication, and pass them on to the moderator. We ask you to turn off your mobile devices and reserve your applause until the end of the forum. I will now turn the forum over to Alvin Hume, who will introduce the four candidates seated in alphabetical order.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you here to this Blacksburg Town Council Candidates Forum. First, we will start out with Mrs. Anderson, and then Mrs. Shatra, and then Ms. DeMotts, and then Mrs. Newcomb. First, we want to welcome you ladies, and hopefully everything work out for you guys in the future. And I'll start out with you, Mrs. Anderson. The first question is, should the town purchase the former Blacksburg High School property? If yes, what should the town do with it?
Well, I think there are two choices in that. We could possibly purchase the Blacksburg High School property on Patrick Henry Drive, and I don't know which one our questionnaire is referring to, but I think that's a great idea. In fact, our council has written a letter to the county suggesting that we would like to do that. We're thinking as a council and as a staff that would be a wonderful place to extend our recreational services. It's right across the street from our existing one.
Thank you. Same question.
Okay. So the Blacksburg High School property, which I went to when I was in high school here as a Blacksburg Indian, I will say, yes, it's a very important piece of property, and we have, as Susan said, we have offered that to the county. The problem is that the county and the school board have not surplus that property, so it actually isn't an option for us as of yet. However, that was the prime location for our rescue squad, new facility that we had recently passed. And now, if that is an option to us, that would be an option that would be given to us probably for the Parks and Recreation Department, and we have many uses for it. I'm not quite sure what the beep means, if that means that I have...
20 seconds.
Oh, very good. Okay, that probably should have been explained. I'm sorry. I thought that maybe, I was like, that was a very short minute. But anyway, we're always looking for good property, and we're always looking for good deals. And we have plenty of places that we want to do many different things in this town, and that would be something that we would look into.
Thank you, ma'am.
And that would mean that the minutes are.
Thank you.
Next question will go to you, Ms. DeMonts.
Okay. I also agree that the town should purchase the high school property on Patrick Henry. I think that's an ideal location for a recreation campus for our Parks and Rec department. I also think that it would be a great location to somehow incorporate an outdoor swimming pool. I think the town of Blacksburg really lacks access to outdoor recreational facilities that are maybe pay-as-you-go or a family membership at a reasonable rate without a long waiting list. So I think that would be an ideal location to expand our recreational opportunities as well as have outdoor swimming facilities, maybe a combination of outdoor swim pool or a lazy river, something like that.
Well, thank you. Ms. Newcomb?
I'm also a BHS grad. I graduated from that terrible building myself. Like Susan said, we have made an offer on that property. However, the county has not responded to that offer. Our rec department recently did a whole survey and study and plan for our recreation facilities, and it does show that we need more facilities. People want more facilities, and that property is part of that plan, we hope, but we have to wait for the county to respond to it.
And can I have a rebuttal?
Yes, you may.
I would just like to add that the county hasn't surplused it yet, so there's no way that we can even talk about it yet until they no longer need it for recreation. The other question that might have been intended was, do we want to get the old Blacksburg High School middle school site that's into the downtown Blacksburg? And that's still under contract with other parties, and so we can't do that. But if it were available, I think that's something I personally would be very interested in looking into.
Thank you. Is there any other rebuttals? If not, the next question will go to Ms. Chakra. What would you like to see happen in the development of the old middle school property?
Wow. Well, I have to tell you that I think that you all know what we'd like to see happen in the old Blacksburg Middle School because we master planned it. And we did that in a record time of 4 months, which is very, very, I mean, the mayor always says that's just extraordinary for town council. This is one of the most important pieces of property left downtown to be developed. And we do have a master plan for it. Basically, we might have to revisit it again because the county has pulled the application that was on the table for this. And basically what I would like to see is what is on the master plan. I'm a mix of residential, a mix of offices, retail activation, maybe a hotel site, but mainly like a lot of green space and a lot of space for activities. And we have so many great festivals and things that we're planning now in downtown to bring people and activate it downtown. So why not use the biggest piece of property downtown for that? I mean, we've got, over 22 acres there, 26 acres, and we have a master plan, so go revisit it if you don't know.
Thank you, ma'am. The same question, would you like for me to read it again?
Oh, no, I understand it. Thank
Okay.
you. As I was preparing for this forum tonight, studying the master plan for the old Blacksburg Middle School site was something I did extensively. I know the middle school site was developed with the office complex for Modea there as a centerpiece on the site. So a little bit of revisiting needs to be done just because that no longer looks like it's something that will happen. But integrating office, retail, restaurant, and green space into that site is a brilliant gateway into downtown. I think having office space on that site especially is going to bring foot traffic into the entire downtown area, both on lunch, after lunch, for festivals. And then also having retail on the site that would be appropriate for our senior populations, our young professionals, our family populations. That would just be a great way to broaden the offerings in downtown, because if there are more people there, there's going to be more business coming into downtown.
Thank you, ma'am. Mrs. Newcomb?
Again, we have a master plan for the old middle school. It's a mixed-use plan that also includes housing on the back for everything except undergraduate students, basically. I participated in the charrettes for the master plan, and I talked to many, many citizens. Our citizens are really concerned about that site. It's a very important site for our town, and I'm committed to upholding the master plan and what we have in our comprehensive plan when any application finally comes forward on that, which hopefully we'll get a viable application before too long, but it's sort of stymied right now between the county and the contract purchaser.
Thank you, Ms. Newcomb. The next question.
You still have Ms. Annie.
Oh, yes.
That's all right.
I'm
That's all right.
sorry.
Just give me a little more time, that's all.
And your rebuttals.
Yes.
Well, I agree with everybody. We do have a master plan, but it's not only Blacksburg's master plan. The town council passed it, but also the Montgomery Board of Supervisors passed it. And so it is an agreed-upon plan for that by our county and ourselves. It is for mixed use. It should be possible to live and work there. 20 acres in the heart of downtown Blacksburg. It's an incredible gift to Blacksburg to have all that space that is ripe for redevelopment. It should have commercial, it should have residential, it should have a recreational component. I hope a huge park. I'm hoping that we'll have residential units for retiring seniors, empty nesters, workforce housing, young professionals. I'd like to see a real mix of housing there so we can see grandparent-aged people playing around with toddlers on the lawn. I think it would be incredibly wonderful to have restaurants right there that they can go to have maybe a daycare on site. I think that could be a really, really wonderful art complex. It could have everything we ever wanted in Blacksburg.
I'd like to make another comment about that,
Yes.
please. I want to just reiterate that this process was such an open citizen engagement process that we got so much feedback from the citizens for this that we really believe in this master plan. And I want you to also think about the location. I mean, Blacksburg doesn't just deserve better for this piece of property, it deserves the best development on this piece of property. This is the last piece of property that has been undeveloped in town, in downtown, and it can be an extension to the downtown. We've got that clay court, we've got this new brownstone coming up. Why not make it an extension to, downtown and make it the entrance of the corridor from that area?
And I have no idea.
Thank you, ladies. The next question will go to Ms. DeMont. What is your definition of a sustainable town?
My definition of a sustainable community incorporates several different types of sustainability. I think it's important to incorporate not only environmental sustainability into our plans for Blacksburg, but also social sustainability and economic sustainability. I think we need to move forward with a focus on all three items to truly make Blacksburg a sustainable community. In terms of economic sustainability, we need to make business decisions that are going to provide lasting, long-term positive impacts in our town. For social sustainability, we need to make sure that we're making decisions that are going to be inclusive of all different ages, all different incomes, to truly diversify our population. And then in terms of environmental sustainability, we need to make sure to continue to pay attention to how we're building things, how we're managing our built structures, how we're incorporating environmental elements into the planning process.
Thank you, ma'am. Mrs. Newcomb, would you like to?
Yes. Our new comp plan, which we passed in December of 2012, has a huge amount on sustainability in it. And right now, we have Cool Cities ongoing. We have a new complex recycling ordinance. We have a new director for our Office of Sustainability. This office does environmental management. They have an advisory board, the mayor's task force on climate change. They do regulatory compliance and the curbside refuse and recycling. All of our new buildings are built to LEED standards. We have hybrid buses. I just want to continue all this good progress on what Blacksburg's already doing for sustainability and continue doing better with alternative transportation. And we do also have a new hub, transportation hub, that's coming sometime in the next few years. That'll be on the tech campus. So I think sustainability we're doing a good job of, but we need to stay on it and keep that as a priority.
My happiest vote on town council was in November of 2006 when we became a cool city. It was joyous. People ran down from their homes into the lobby to celebrate us becoming a cool city. And I think we were doing okay before then, but we're doing even better since then. We've had our energy checked. We know where we need to be going. We need to have sustainable businesses. We need to have energy-efficient businesses, energy-efficient homes. As we all know, costs are just going to keep rising and rising, and if we're going to be state-of-the-art, we're just going to have to keep improving and improving. Our town needs to be a leader in this. We need to keep doing the hybrid buses. We need to be looking at things like possibly propane, like the Pulaski Transit System is doing. We should be into smart growth, denser redevelopment, cluster housing. We should save our green spaces and do a lot of denser redevelopment. Again, I think we need to be a very, very energy-efficient town. I think we need to do even more recycling than we do.
Yes, ma'am.
My colleagues up here have talked very much and in very specific terms about economic sustainability, environmental sustainability, social sustainability. But one of the things I want to point out is how we grow this town to be sustainable with the people that we actually keep here. And that's very important. And there are two ways that we can do this. We can grow this town so they can live their dreams here by starting a business, by starting some kind of basically of finding their jobs here, by finding affordable housing here and things to do here. One of the ways that we can do this is we can grow the opportunity by putting fiber optic cable down, by putting Wi-Fi down here. To sustain a town, you have to grow it in many different ways. And I'm on the broadband task force, and one of the ways I look to growing a city is how do we attract people here, but once they're here, how do we engage them? And that's the most important thing, I think, for a sustainable community, is a community that has the infrastructure to make dreams come true.
Fantastic. Ms. Newcomb, we will start with you for the next question, please. And it is, what will the effect of an overbuilt student housing market be for affordable housing in Blacksburg?
I wish I had that crystal ball. All I can do is speculate, really, but I think an overbuilt student housing population is a problem for all of us. It creates blight. It's old student housing that becomes a problem in town. I don't think the old apartments are going to magically become affordable to people who can't afford them now. I think it would drive up costs for all over town. And I don't think that overbuilding anything is the way to go. We need to be smart, plan well, and use our comprehensive plan to build what we actually need here, like affordable housing, empty nest housing, retirement housing, and young professional and family housing.
Thank you, ma'am. Is it right?
Does it go to Susan?
Always want to to the end? When
Yes.
she,
I can answer if you want me to.
let's start.
Okay.
You're
Okay.
then down and then back,
Okay. This is a great question because I work in student housing, so it's something that I am intimately familiar with. I think the effect of overbuilding student housing will result in blight, of course, in our apartment communities, Because as the parent of a child, I don't want to live in the middle of student housing. So I'm not going to, regardless of the pricing of what was formerly 100% student housing, even if it's down to 80% student housing and extremely affordable, I'm not going to choose to live there with my child. And I wouldn't expect that the large majority of our population would choose to live in an apartment community, even if it is 80 or 90% occupied by students. I think in order to solve the affordable housing problem that we have in the town of Blacksburg, we need to build affordable housing and have it dedicated as such, and shy away from developing more student housing because there isn't a demonstrated need for it.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
For me, I don't think we necessarily need more student housing, even though Dean DePaul, the dean of the graduate school, has written me many times to say that her graduate students, have not found quality housing here in this town. I think that we need to look at every application on its face. Does it meet with the land use requirements that we're looking for in terms of the future land use? Does it affect the neighbors? How does it affect the environment? How will it affect the traffic and noise? What is the best and the best use possible for that piece of parcel, that land that we're looking at? And how will the management address the over occupancy? That's the way I always address an application when it comes in, whether it's student housing or any other type of housing. And lately it's been a lot of student housing. But I also think that we should look at the stock of housing that we have here. That's why I supported the Rutherford Townhome and the Clover Valley rezoning request, because we need to use our housing that we have. I also supported the Edge because that's an infill project that we really need in town to grow from within.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Anderson?
Please speak louder. All right. Thank you. I think that overbuilding student housing would be very detrimental to us all. Then something's wrong with my mic, because this is the way I normally talk on council. Sorry. Is this better? Is this better? Not much? Okay.
Can you use the next microphone?
I can try. Is this better?
Sorry, Susan.
Is this better? I'm really talking loudly. Well, I can try to yell. Would that be all right? All right, should I start from the top? Are you ready? Okay. Overbuilding student housing is going to be terrible for everybody. I think it's going to really harm our older complexes. I think we could have them go into blight and disrepair. We would have them suddenly becoming unattractive parts of our neighborhood. Nowhere in our comp plan does it say that we need student housing. Nowhere. And our citizens have put an enormous amount of time into our comp plan. I think that overbuilding student housing would also harm our little mom and pop type apartments. I have a friend, for example, that rents a duplex. She might find it much harder to rent if there's an overabundance of rental property around town. We need quality rental housing. We need quality homes. We need workforce housing. We need affordable senior housing. There's a lot of housing types we need in Blacksburg, but I'm not sure that we need student housing, more student housing.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'd like to just make another comment about that. We still have a lot of student housing requests. In fact, that is the only request that we get right across our desk right now is for student housing. And the way I look at it, and obviously it's not an economically viable thing for us to overbuild. But the way I look at it is what Susan said. You have to build quality housing because that'll lift the bottom up. You know, everyone will move a tier up, and then it will shore up, those vacant houses that need to be rebuilt, that owners need to put money in. And that's the way that we can move the housing, across the line. We have to shore up, neighborhood housing for other quality housing.
Mr. Humes, can I say something?
Yes, ma'am.
We have a comprehensive plan that I participated in many, many meetings back in the 90s with hundreds of citizens from this town who actually wrote the comprehensive plan. So when I'm making decisions on things like this, I consult the comprehensive plan. I think we all got turned up. I'm going to sit back here.
Have you finished?
Was that 30 seconds?
Did you know, would you like to start again?
That's okay.
Okay, very good.
I think they heard me.
Okay, we will start the next question with you, Ms. Yes, it's you, Ms. Chandra.
Oh, it's me? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Listen to this carefully. There is a lot of focus on downtown and South Main Street, especially in the recent economic development plan. But less attention is given to North Main Street. What is your vision for the future of North Main Street, north of Progress Street?
That is an excellent question. That is our next commercial center that we need to be looking at, people. We've got downtown. When I first came on council, Susan and Cecile and Leslie had done a great job in representing downtown. I put my time and effort, my heart and soul into South Main, and now we have a viable South Main Merchants Association. We put money into a roundabout in North Main as an entrance to North Main, and that is the next logical next step. So what we need to do, I believe, is actually connect those commercial centers in some way. We talked about 4 years ago having a trolley that goes from North Main to South Main to downtown to UCB, and we need to figure out how to finance that, because that is a great, that infrastructure is going to lead to new building development down in North Main. We do have some businesses that have relocated there. Campus Automotive went from downtown to North Main. We know it's a viable place. If we can just get that one restaurant that's been Antries, that's been everything, to be viable, then we've got an anchor there. And I've got more to say about that, but I'm going to let my colleagues go.
Ms. Anderson.
We definitely need to work on North Main. As Krisha said, we've done studies before on the downtown, several studies. We've been working on South Main, and we have talked during council meetings about the potential of doing a study for North Main. It is ripe for redevelopment, and we do need to have some kind of interconnector. As Krisha remarked, we have looked into trolleys. You can get capital funding for trolleys, so we could actually get the trolley here. The trouble is keeping the trolley, doing the day-to-day, the maintenance, the infrastructure, having the drivers be able to be paid. So we have to figure out some way to make that happen. And so to do that, we're probably going to have to do a partnership with the town and some of our urban areas to do that. So it's going to be cooperative, but we haven't done it yet because we haven't figured out a way to pay for it.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Mrs. DeBrey? Yes.
Okay. I really like the idea of also revitalizing the North Main area. I think the South Main area is really off to a great start, and they're doing wonderful things. There's been a lot of work in the past 4 years in the South Main area, and it's really been very impressive. I think also the downtown is being reestablished as an arts and cultural district. Something that the North Main area needs is some type of anchor, and I think it would be absolutely wonderful to have that anchor be some sort of family attraction, whether it be an adventure world type attraction that's going to attract parents and kids, or just some sort of family attraction on that side of town. And I love the idea of connecting North Main, downtown, and South Main with the trolley. I know it's been heavily researched, and hopefully some sort of magic bullet can come in and get a trolley that connects all three of those to each other.
Ms. DeMont. Mrs. Newcomb. I'm sorry.
This is our economic development strategy. It is part of our comprehensive plan. You can find it online, or you can get a paper copy across the street. We do talk about North Main in this. We have a need in this town for services such as automotive and industry. We can't be all niche boutiques and everything beautiful and expensive. So I feel like North Main is a good place, a good viable place to keep those kinds of businesses and to maybe have more of them. But I don't want everybody going to Christiansburg to get their oil changed. We need those kind of businesses here in town as well, and I think North Main is a good place for them.
Did you say you had a rebuttal?
I just want to mention and point out that 4 years ago, when I was running for this council, the same question was posed about South Main, and someone did something about it, and this council did something about it. So it is possible. We just have to do it tempered. We have to be careful. We have to be, very mindful of it, and we have to have an advocate. And I think that is our next prime spot. As Cecile mentioned, we have an economic development strategy plan already written up, and that's going to be, the next place that we look.
All right, thank you. The next question, we will start with you, Mrs. Newton.
Okay.
Listen carefully. Blacksburg is a wonderful town for young people, and the town promotes opportunities for families. Older citizens have much to offer. What do you see the town doing to support and encourage older adults and retirees?
I feel like this is a great town for retirees, and there was a huge push for that. When was that? In the 90s, we had a lot of stuff going on for retirees, where we expanded our recreation center. We have a lot of programs through our recreation center for retirees. We have a bus system. We have wonderful trails. And we have wonderful seniors in this town who are involved. They're on our committees. They're out working for sustainability. They're in Sustainable Blacksburg. They're everywhere, and they're working harder than they were when they were employed, a lot of them. And so, I mean, we can always do better for everybody, but I think Blacksburg is a great place for our older citizens to live in, and I plan to retire here myself, so.
Yes, ma'am.
I think that's an excellent question. It's something I've given a lot of thought to as well in preparation for tonight's forum. I think that in some ways we need to address the concerns of seniors, because I don't think that we have adequately done that. We focus so much on the younger populations. I think the approach to solving that problem can be done in a couple of different ways. First, we need to really focus on developing housing specific for seniors that is affordable for seniors. We also need to expand the recreational opportunities available to seniors, and I think using the Patrick Henry High School site, when surplused, if surplused, to develop a rec center that incorporates more senior offerings would be a really good use of that property as well. But the main thing is, in order to encourage seniors to live here and encourage people to retire here, we need to make it affordable for them to have property here to begin with.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So, in the last 4 years, we have, as a council, passed affordable housing for our seniors, and that is the Community Housing Partnership development for senior housing on Grissom Lane. This was a quality mix of housing types. It furthered the affordable housing initiative. It promoted a walkable community. It also gave an opportunity for residential development and aging in place, and it had access to the BT. We are thinking about this. This is in our economic development strategy plan. I, for one, do a lot of work right now with working with young professionals and bringing them to downtown. I organized an event called Up on the Roof that you might have heard of that brings 600 people downtown to then spill out into the restaurants and into the retail centers. So I'm focused on that. However, I do think that there is a place for our aging seniors. Obviously, I have parents that live here that that have been here for over 40 years and they want to stay. A great place for this to happen: the old Blacksburg Middle School site. That's what we have, signified it for. And if you look at our comprehensive plan, you'll see those cloudy, puffy bubbles. Those are for mixed-use development for senior housing.
Ms. Anderson?
We can always do better for seniors, but we have a really wonderful community in place today for seniors. As Cecile mentioned, we have rec services for seniors. As Krisha mentioned, we just did the Grissom Lane developments. That they will look like 4 single-family homes, but indeed each is a duplex. So we'll be able to put 8 seniors, and again, they're going to be 55 or older, and they're apartments, so they should be more affordable than your normal home. So again, great housing. One thing that we do have to work on, though, is the type of housing we have in Blacksburg. We need housing that people can age in place in, or housing that people can move and then continue to age in place. My home is on Preston, and it's a wonderful home, but those stairs would kill me if I were 80 years old. I'm probably going to have to move when I get to be a little bit creakier. Again, we need more housing that's I think it's called universally built, housing with the wider doorways.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Humes, can I respond to that?
Yes, ma'am, you may.
Me too.
The town can only do so much. We have a great housing department that's trying very hard to use the money that's shrinking and shrinking from the federal government. A lot of this has to be done by private industry, and we are in the process of selling some property at the interchange to an assisted living facility. So we do have that coming, and along with that facility, we're also going to get a new park for everybody, not just the seniors, but everybody in town to use. So I think we're doing everything we can, and we just have to take advantage of every opportunity that comes our way.
Yes, ma'am.
And just to come back a little bit on what I was saying, we did, I am on the housing board that recently pushed through the 8 units of senior housing on Grissom Lane. It's 8 units, and it's not in downtown. I'd really like to see housing for seniors being developed in downtown, and more programs for seniors specifically developed within our community.
I would like to say one more thing.
Yes.
Because the cost of land is so high, and as Cecile said, it needs to come from the private sector, we have talked about, as a council, about a housing trust fund, which would be a neighborhood housing trust fund with a dedicated source of revenue that would allow Blacksburg to help its workforce, young professionals, families, and seniors attain long-term housing here in town. I can get into the details of that, but I can't do that in 30 seconds. But there is an opportunity for us to actually subsidize the kind of housing that we need.
Thank you, ma'am. We will get right back to where we started from. Mrs. Anderson. Mrs. Anderson, this question is, where are you with your tourism strategic plan?
Well, we as Blacksburg are not working on a strategic tourism plan. Actually, we are working in conjunction with Christiansburg and Montgomery County on a strategic tourism plan, and we just passed it on our consent agenda, I think at our very last town council meeting. And so we saw the presentation at one of our work sessions, and one of the main features of the tourism plan is branding. We are branding the area. We don't have a brand yet, but we feel it's extremely important for our area, Blacksburg in particular, Christiansburg in particular, Montgomery County in general, to have a brand so that we can market ourselves in different advertisements, different newspapers, magazines throughout the country, throughout the state. And so, again, it's not just Blacksburg doing that, but it is our county as a whole. Our Step into Blacksburg website is very, very helpful with that, of the Blacksburg Partnership.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Well, as the chair of the Montgomery County Tourism Council, I'm happy to report that our new executive director, Lisa Bleakley, hit the ground running and has published this comprehensive tourism strategic plan that Susan was alluding to, which all the localities have recognized. The next step in the strategic plan is the branding initiative, and we are looking to see how we can identify the region's attraction points. We're looking to hire some brand consultants and create some marketing tools. Now, it's interesting to note that there has been a 6.3 increase in Montgomery County's travel expenditure for 2012. That means that compared to the rest of the state, Montgomery County's expenditure for tourism has gone up. And I was just informed in terms of the local level from the communications department that we'll have 3 new 9-foot kiosks that will highlight shopping, tourism, and restaurants with maps of Virginia Tech, of the campus, and also of Blacksburg. And these kiosks will be specifically designed for our pedestrian tourists, and they should be available in 6 weeks. So we're moving right along.
Yes, moving right along. I'll tell you, ladies, I'm glad I'm not a candidate or
This is a difficult question for me. As a challenger, I haven't I don't have the experience that my colleagues up here have. So I'm going to address this in the only way I know how, which is how Blacksburg already is increasing its tourism. We've just recently, within the past 10 days, week or 10 days, been designated on the Crooked Road, which is absolutely wonderful for tourism. We also are right now going through the opening of the Center of the Arts, which is just amazing for increasing tourism to Blacksburg. One thing that I think with the Crooked Road designation and the use of the Market Square Park in bluegrass and various cultural types of music, I think having an Appalachian Cultural Festival in downtown Blacksburg would be a great asset to the town. So I think we're working towards increasing our tourism, but there are definitely different things we can still do.
Yes, ma'am.
I won't repeat what my colleagues have said, but the tourism initiative is one of the examples of the ways we cooperate with the surrounding localities. Despite what you might read in the newspaper, we work very well with Christiansburg and the county. We have a new performing arts center downtown because of our relationship with Virginia Tech. We have a new gig and Wi-Fi network downtown because we work well with businesses. The Blacksburg Transit is now in Christiansburg. The county is now in our water authority, and we have a new 911 call center for this area. Our law enforcement is continually cooperating with surrounding locales. So we do work really well with other people, and we play nice, and this tourism initiative is part of that.
Could I say one more thing?
Thank you, Ms. Newcomb. Yes, ma'am.
That'd be great. You all probably saw in the newspaper, it said in 2012, Montgomery County, tourism revenue climbed 6.3% to $129.5 million, the largest increase in the region and better than the statewide 4% increase. So again, we are already rocking in Montgomery County. The Performing Arts Center is going to open up, I believe, November 3rd, and we're trying to be ready for that in downtown Blacksburg. We've passed a live, work, sell ordinance, hoping to get more artists in our downtown neighborhood. It's too hard.
That 6.3% is a good quote, though.
We're going to start out with you, young lady.
Again.
And the question is, provide your assessment of the town's current financial condition. Please provide specifics.
Specifics, okay. Well, here's the thing. The state of affairs in Blacksburg is good. We are doing really well. I think that this town and this community has done an extremely good, thorough, very calculated job of making sure that we're in a good place, that we will never have a shutdown. We will be able to pay all of our bills and move forward, and we generate enough revenue through many different versions, many different ways, through businesses, through property tax, through B-poll tax, and we are able to provide you with the services that you love about Blacksburg, like our parks and recreation, our Huckleberry Trail, services that, our dog parks, for instance, that have been expanded. So the state of affairs is very good, and I'm just really proud to have gotten to know the staff in these last 4 years, and I just really appreciate the way that they are so fiscally responsible.
Yes, ma'am.
Again, lack of experience makes it a little bit more difficult to answer questions like this because I don't have the intimate knowledge of the budgets that everybody else that's on town council does have. I can say from the reviews that I've done, things are balancing very well. That is a sign of a healthy economy in the town. It's a sign of happiness within our population that we don't have a big outcry on our budget. Our revenue is meeting our expenses. We're running the town effectively and efficiently with the revenue that we're bringing in. So I think the town's current financial situation is good. I think it looks good, and moving forward, it'll just get better.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Newcomb.
We have an excellent finance department in this town. They've won an award every year for 30 years, Ron? So that's part of our luck here in town, but we also have a very frugal town council. We're really careful with what we do with your money, and we have not raised taxes in the last 4 years. We have a new fire department. We have a new rescue squad coming online. We have new trails, new sidewalks, and excellent services, and we have not raised your taxes. So I think I can safely say that we have excellent fiscal responsibility in this town.
All right, thank you. Thank you. The next,
Susan?
yes, ma'am, Ms. Susan.
Our financial position is excellent. We had a downturn in the economy in Blacksburg, but it didn't devastate our town like it did so many other places. And we're lucky because we have this big giant in our midst, Virginia Tech. So again, we're just a very, very fortunate community. We have a diverse funding system. We have a diverse funding stream. As was mentioned, our taxes haven't gone up, but again, it's because we have a diverse funding stream. We have real estate taxes. We get rentals on properties. We have licenses and permits. We have other taxes like sales taxes, cigarette taxes, meals taxes, lodging taxes. Taxes may be an ugly word, but it sure helps us keep our town running. We have revenues from the state. We have federal government fundings coming in, the community development block grant funds and home consortium funds. And our bond rating is excellent. We have a Moody's AA2, AA2, and we have a Standard & Poor's AA. Wonderful for a town.
Susan did a great job of wrapping that up, and I just want to say that the League of Women Voters puts out a really nifty Facts for Voters handout, and under the Town of Blacksburg tab, you can see where all the revenues comes from, all the taxes and licenses. So plug for you guys, and thank you for providing the service for our residents.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'd also like to point out that we have a brand-new streetscape on North Main, or no, South Main, no, that is North Main, sorry, and College Avenue, and that took very little town money. Our staff is very good at getting money from VDOT and from the federal government and using that money to help improve our town. So just wanted to point that out.
And our schools, too. We have consistently gotten the Safe Routes to School funding revenue sharing match, which might not be the case this year, unfortunately, but we have. So that's a very important thing. Thank you.
Great, great. So we're going to start with you, Mrs. Newcomb, and work our way on down, okay? Now, this is one that I think she's been waiting for. A donation to a housing trust fund has shown up as a recent development proposal. What are your thoughts on a Blacksburg housing trust?
The housing trust is a great idea. The idea is to get money and put it into this trust and be able to use that to take care of some of the properties in our downtown that have been so abused as student rentals. However, the recent proffer for money into this fund was deemed illegal, basically. It was a cash proffer, which we're not allowed to accept. So it was taken off of that proposal, and we won't be looking at that, but we will take money from anybody who'd like to give it.
Yes, ma'am.
My interpretation of the purpose of the housing trust is a little bit different. I believe that the housing trust is to be established in order to provide resources for more low to moderate income workforce, affordable and senior housing. I think Blacksburg does need a housing trust. I think the Housing and Community Development Advisory Board is actually currently looking at different methods of funding a housing trust. Where should the money come from, and then how should it be used once it comes in? One of the sources that we've talked about on that board as a funding stream for the housing trust is proffers coming from new development, not development that's already been proposed prior to the housing trust being established, but developers down the road proffering a dollar amount per unit or per bedroom into the housing trust fund. If they're not going to build affordable housing within their developments, then proffering money to the town to do that.
Thank you.
Well, I like to call it a neighborhood housing trust fund because I think that it will help the neighborhoods immensely. And basically what this is it's a dedicated source of revenue which would allow Blacksburg to use it for its workforce, young professional families, and senior housing to attain long-term housing here in the town. And we're currently identifying those potential funding sources for the Housing Trust Fund. You know, this is not a new idea. 600 communities across the country already have a Housing Trust Fund. So it's something that Blacksburg can really adopt. We have to look at where the money will come from, and some of the ideas might be a volunteer development contribution, private donations, real estate taxes, loan repayments, maybe federal and state loans as well. But we need to work out the details. It might work like something like the Community Foundation, which all of you are familiar with, but it really is a way to subsidize the type of housing that we really need here.
Ms. Anderson?
As you all know, many people can't afford to live in Blacksburg. A lot of our counselors, our teachers, our police officers would love to live in Blacksburg, but they can't afford it. And a lot of our young professionals, well, probably they could afford to live in Blacksburg, but they can get a whole lot better house or better apartment over in Christiansburg. We just are pricing them out of our market. And so this housing fund could, if we get to it, if we make it happen, could really go a long way. We don't know what it's going to look like yet. Our housing board is just starting to look at it. We're just starting to dig through other types of housing funds across the country. We've got a long way to go, and and working on it with.
Really feel like this is just going to be a big priority for council coming up. We've established, this idea of a housing trust fund, and we have, some developers that are looking into having that housing and that price point that is affordable. But quite honestly, we need to be able to help them and subsidize them because the land costs are very high.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'd just like to point out in this economic development plan, there is a section on the Housing Trust Fund that kind of lays out the ideas that could happen. It's very conceptual at this stage, but the idea is to provide housing for those people who don't find it here right now.
I got nothing.
You have nothing. You have something right now.
Oh, yeah,
Ms.
yeah,
Edwards.
right.
The next question is yours. Describe
Uh-oh.
your impression of the relationship between Montgomery County and the town of Blacksburg. What are the major issues for both entities?
As a pure observer, this is a fantastic question. Standing on the outside, looking in, with the old Blacksburg Middle School site as the most recent example, I'm not sure who was at fault because I wasn't a part of the argument, but it definitely seemed like there was an unwillingness on one side or the other to work together for a solution. So my impression of the relationship between the two is that it might need some work. Maybe something with a moderator coming between those two parties. As I said, and the other three up here can probably in more detail explain, I'm not sure what the problem is because I wasn't a part of any of the discussions. So I think getting to the bottom of it and moving forward in a positive way would be beneficial to all of us.
I personally think that we have a healthy relationship with the county. There's several things that we share in terms of, just services. Look at the fire and rescue. Look at the tourism initiative. We have to come together when we are planning our strategic plan for how we draw and attract more people to this area. Old Blacksburg Middle School did put a little bit of a damper, I think, on our relationships, but I feel that it just strained it. It didn't cut it. And we do have a dedicated council person, Leslie Hager-Smith, and Ron Rordum, of course, that work in tandem with the county to come to agreements for the Blacksburg Middle School. I believe those conversations are still happening. And, I serve on many committees with Chair Politis, and I work with the county as well. So I feel like, the county is part, in a way, the town is part of the county, and we have a symbiotic relationship, and we just need to move forward to get things done, because in the end, that's what's going to serve the residents of our community the best.
We have
Yes, ma'am.
a really good relationship with our county. We go to the Virginia Municipal League meetings a couple of times a year, and we find out just how horrible some towns and cities interact with the counties around them. And we have a really, really good relationship. I agree, the old Blacksburg Middle School is a sticking point. It's a thorn in probably everybody's thumb. But we have different things we want out of that old middle school. I believe that the supervisors see it as a boon for the school system. They want as much money out of that as they can for our school system, and that's very noble. But for Blacksburg, it's a much bigger deal. Schools are important to us, too. We want good schools for our kids. But this, again, is in the heart of our community. What happens there is going to affect us for the rest of our town life. And so we have a few more pieces of interest in that old middle school property. We have monthly meetings with the county. Our vice mayor and our mayor meet with the county representatives. Ongoing dialogue all the time. Either party can put something on the agenda. We have the 911 center we're working together on.
Thank you, ma'am.
Is it my turn?
Ma'am?
I haven't answered yet.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to deviate a little bit. We do have good relationships with our county. However, there are a couple of supervisors who find it as a fun pastime to kind of make fun of Blacksburg and badmouth us, and that gets into the press, and it gets things like people saying we should change the name of our high school, and it's pretty ridiculous, and it just gets in the way of progress. But issues for the town in this situation are that we provide fire and rescue not just to the town but also to the campus and well beyond our borders, and we get very little money from the county for this. So we're subsidizing the county on fire and rescue. We need more cooperation with the schools when they decide where they're going to move their buildings to and which ones they're going to tear down and how they're going to affect our neighborhoods. So I think we can do better. It's not a bad relationship now, but it could certainly be better. And if any of you all want to run for Board of Supervisors, that would help a lot.
The next question will go to you, young lady. Within low-income housing, as on Givens Lane, is eliminated by development, what should be done to provide alternative housing?
Well, the Givens Lane application is still live in this town, so I can't really comment on that. I think that it would be unfair to do so before it becomes a public hearing process. But I will say that any development, regardless of if it's affordable housing or any kind of housing that we ultimately need, cannot displace people who are living in this town. We can't solve one problem by creating another problem. That makes no sense to me. With that being said, the kind of topics that we talked about tonight in terms of the housing trust, in terms of affordable housing, I mean, those are the kind of alternatives we need to look at when it comes to parcels that need redevelopment in town or need development in general. We have a property owned by some developers on Glade Road, and I just went to those developers and said, what would it take to put affordable housing here on the slate? You know, instead of talking about it, let's just try to make it happen. And after getting over that shock of a council member asking them, they gave me some ideas. So we have some parcels that we can look at.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I think we do need to keep working on this housing fund. We have money that we get from the federal government, community development block grant funds. We have home funds that we also get from the federal government. We can pool monies together. We can work with community housing partners, and we can try to do some more affordable housing. We've done some, okay, but we definitely need to do much, much more. Building apartments are more, or having apartments for homes are more affordable than selling and buying homes. Lower income people can afford, as you know, apartments more. So I think we need to work more on affordable housing apartments as well as single family homes.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Can you repeat the question just so I can make sure I understood it, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry.
Don't be, please. Within low-income housing, as on Givens Lane, is eliminated by development. What should be done to provide alternative housing.
Okay, thank you very much for
Yes,
repeating the
ma'am.
question. I don't think it's any secret to anybody that's watched my campaign that I am absolutely opposed to the redevelopment of the housing on Givens Lane into what is unaffordable housing. So if that was to happen and that property was to be redeveloped into housing that is not going to be affordable for the almost 300 people that live there, we have a serious problem as a town. We have eliminated one of the last streams of available housing for our low-income residents. This isn't low to moderate income housing. This is low-income housing. This is our workforce. These are the people that work in our restaurants and in our service industries. These are the people that come into our homes, our seniors' homes, to provide nursing services. This is a very important population that needs to be protected.
Yes, ma'am.
This issue, I can't say too much because we haven't voted on it yet, but I have been at a public meeting in the trailer park where things were talked about in an open meeting, so I think I can talk about this. This rezoning could obliterate an entire community. It's not simply a rezoning. It would be wiping out not just a neighborhood, but a group of people who have lived together and helped sustain each other. And it, to me, it cannot happen. There are solutions being worked on by local church members and investors who would like to buy the park and continue it as a trailer park and truly affordable housing. And I really hope that the landowners will do the right thing and work with these people and sell it to them and keep our only truly affordable housing where it is.
Can I say one more
Thank you.
thing?
Yes, ma'am.
You all probably know this, but there's a petition out there online that has over 300 signatures for supporting the people in Blacksburg Estates, and I find that just incredibly promising. I've heard from several people about the proposal for Blacksburg Estates, and not one person has emailed me or spoken to me on the street or talked to me over the phone and said, I think this proposal is a good idea. So the community of Blacksburg is solidly behind the residents of that park, and I hope the residents know that, and it makes me feel really good about Blacksburg.
Everybody's satisfied? Okay. The next question.
I don't know. I took the last one, so.
Okay. Let's go. Ms. Anderson. A lot of really good things are currently happening in the town. A lot of really good things are planned for the future. But what is one thing you would like to change in or about the town?
One thing I would like to change about the town, I would like to have more affordable housing, more workforce housing. I think one of our major problems is our housing stock. We need to have more types of housing in town. And so if I could wave a magic wand, I would have housing that's safe and affordable and livable for people of all ages, all walks of life. I'd have them, people from all walks of life and all economic levels living in mixed communities so that we're not segregated. I would have our neighborhoods be in perfect shape and no speed through traffic. I would have our quality of life better.
Mrs. Newcomb.
I agree with Susan that traffic control is an ongoing problem. I'd like to see students not drink so much alcohol, but I think we have a great town. I believe that we can have a healthy economy and a good quality of life, and that we can retain that as we grow, and that's why I ran for council, and that's why I would like to be reelected. But I've moved away from this town 5 times and moved back. And every time it got better. So I don't have a whole lot of beef with what's going on now, other than, social problems that are everywhere.
Yes, ma'am.
I agree with Susan and Cecile. The town is wonderful. That's why people like Cecile and like myself move away and then come back. I moved away after college, and I moved to Dallas, Texas, and got there and thought, what in the world am I doing here? Why did I leave Blacksburg to begin with? And immediately made my way back. The 2 things that I think that Blacksburg could do better, one is providing more access to a broader diversity of housing for all incomes and all age groups. Also, I think we could use a little bit of work within our neighborhoods, working on neighborhood sidewalks, just building the connectivity within our neighborhoods. Once you get out of the main corridors, there's nowhere to walk without risking life and limb from the speeders. In the neighborhoods, there's no sidewalks, so I'd like to see us bringing more sidewalks into our neighborhoods as well as more affordable housing.
Thank you.
Well, I think the affordable housing issue is a good one, and I also am a local. I was born here, and I did leave, and just like everyone else, you guys pulled me back in, and now I serve this community. But I'm a visionary for this town, and what I think that needs to happen in the future, and what I think that hasn't happened yet that really needs to happen, is broadband and fiber to the home. That is our future. That will empower, no matter what income level you are, that will empower you to be able to communicate with this world, to start up your own business. If you have an idea, that's what's going to make it happen. I was on the Mayor's Broadband Task Force. We did roll out a plan for this. We weren't able to finance it, but what really needs to happen is that we need to have a master plan for fiber, the way that we had a master plan for the old Blacksburg Middle School site, the way that we have a master plan for the bike lanes. We need a master plan for how to get fiber to the home. We do have this amazing resource right now called Gigabit Wi-Fi, which I'll talk about in hopefully the next segment. But I think that is the future of our economic development.
Great. Anybody else? April, it's all on you.
All right. No pressure.
All right. Listen carefully. The new interchange on the 460 bypass will change the flow of traffic on the south end of Blacksburg. Do you have any ideas on how to use this as an opportunity to initiate the impact of cut-through traffic in the south side neighborhoods?
Is this talking about the interchange at Virginia Tech? I'm a little confused.
That's the only new interchange I know is the...
They're talking about moving the Southgate interchange north, a little
Okay,
north.
Yeah.
okay. All right.
A little east, sorry, a little east.
So the question is asking how will this impact the cut-through traffic in those neighborhoods for people trying to access the 460 from there. I actually live in the neighborhoods surrounding that area, so I live on a cul-de-sac, so the impact to my particular street would be minimal, but my neighborhood as a whole probably would have some impact. I think that can be mitigated. We haven't even started the process of that. So those types of risks can be heavily studied and mitigated before it even begins. So I think studying it heavily and making sure that those types of community concerns are addressed and heard and played out very well before things begin to be constructed. I think that's very important to limiting the impact on the neighborhoods on that side of town. It's making sure that it's thoroughly studied before it begins.
Yes.
Oh, me this time?
Yes, you.
Okay, very good. So we had actually the neighbors of Southgate work very hard earlier this year to provide ideas for traffic calming measures. And this wasn't in response to moving that interchange, but it was in response to Southgate being an arterial road. And unfortunately, we didn't have in our budget to see a lot of those recommendations through, but Southgate has received over $82,000 of our budget to mitigate the traffic. This entrance to the town is a good one for our town. It'll help the south end businesses. It will bring a lot of visibility to the south businesses. As a chair and one of the leaders to form the South Main Merchants Association, we've looked at how we can put wayfinding signs to direct that traffic into First and Main and to South Main so that we can get the businesses to capitalize off of that traffic that's coming in, so it just doesn't come in for game day, it comes in for, patronizing our businesses.
I'm hoping that the new Southgate interchange won't have any more negative effect on Southgate Drive than the current interchange does. The reason for that is I think that it will be a better entrance for the Corporate Research Center, and they've done a lot of planning to save as much of the woods as possible. I think only a tree or two is supposed to be taken out. So again, I think it'll be a good entrance for the Corporate Research Center. It will be a good entrance to go to Lane Stadium. I don't think it will be a good entrance to go to the Southgate neighborhood. And I'm hoping it won't be a good entrance to go to First and Main. I think people going to First and Main, if they're coming from Giles, they're going to probably go down Price's Fork. If they're coming from Christiansburg, they'll probably take Main Street, South Main Street. So again, it is my hope that most of the traffic that goes in that way will be tech traffic, Virginia Tech traffic, and Corporate Research Center traffic, and that the neighborhood won't be harmed.
Yes, ma'am.
This is a big issue, the traffic in the South Side neighborhoods right now going to Virginia Tech and the CRC really does clog those roads. And this project actually has been designed and planned. I went to a public VDOT meeting when I first got elected, and there were many citizens there giving input. So the plan has been done, and I think this plan together with the new plan for the entrance to the CRC off of North Main, which was the Blacksburg Partnership did a great job of helping us get through, is going to help take the traffic out of those neighborhoods. That's my big hope. And I really think that those two projects together are going to have people using 460 more to get to work and to get to campus rather than cutting down Southgate and past the Margaret Beeks.
Thank you.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, ma'am, you may.
The traffic synchronization that has happened on South Main Street, I think, has helped a lot. Many people who used to cut through Preston and Draper, I think, are now staying on Main Street because the light signals are working together, working in conjunction. We still get cut through traffic. Please don't mistake that. But I think it's lessened, anecdotally lessened, since the traffic signals have gone online.
Great. All right. The next question. Ms. Anderson, I'm going to start out with you this time. What are your views in relations to fiber optic for our town?
Well, I think Chris has pretty well covered it tonight. We need fiber optic in our town. We need lots of high-tech ability in our town. I just went to Bob Summers' what would you call it, open house, where he has free access to Wi-Fi gigabite internet. Free access to Wi-Fi gigabite internet. Amazing. Apparently, this is the fastest free wireless connection in the whole world, according to TechPad. And I think they're right. We have that capability down at PK's, the restaurant right below it, but we don't have it too much further. We are expanding. He plans to expand it to other downtown restaurants. He's trying to expand it to other parts of the town. And we are hoping that just like Blacksburg became, the cool electronic village, that will now be the cool Wi-Fi gigabyte all over the downtown. I think that technology, the broadband infrastructure is important. Just not enough time.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, like I said before, this is the future of our community, and I was on the mayor's broadband task force. We rolled out a plan for fiber, but couldn't figure out how to pay for it, and now the RBTC, the Roanoke-Blacksburg Technology Council, has brought stakeholders together to tackle this issue. The town owns the fiber infrastructure here, and basically all we need to do is figure out how to lease it and make it open access and provide what companies need instead of having companies build fiber over each other. What we need, as I said before, is a master plan for this fiber initiative. We need a formalized map to show where the fiber is and where we need to lay conduit. And I think that what the best plan is to actually put it into our new construction. As soon as something comes up that is being redeveloped or new, it should have conduit for fiber in it. It should just be part of the construction plan. And I look forward to being reelected so I can continue to work hard to advocate for this, because I really feel this is the key to our future of economic development for anyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, Miss April.
I manage student housing. It's young people with great technology demands. So I think it is logical to conclude that fiber is the way that we need to go. We need to move in that direction because they're asking for it. And if the students are asking for it, that means everybody in Blacksburg is going to either ask for it or benefit from it. So it is definitely the way that we should be going. Blacksburg, when I came here as a student in 1999, moving into the dorms, I had an Ethernet connection. I had never had anything more than a dial-up at home, so that was mind-blowing. And it is even more mind-blowing to me that now there is something that is even bigger, even better, even faster. And we definitely need to move forward with embracing that and bringing it into our town. If Blacksburg is going to keep up with being an electronic village, we have to keep up with the technology.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Newcomb.
I agree with what Krisha and the others have said up here, but we are already installing conduit in every road project that we do. We've been doing this for a few years now because we realize how important it is. The CRC has high fiber connections all throughout it, and that's a key to their success. But we have many businesses who really prefer to be downtown, but they need this in order to be downtown. So it's definitely an important priority for our town. It is about to be offered free downtown for 2 years, thanks to TechPad and the town and everybody who's worked on that project. So yes, it's important, and we need to keep moving ahead on our electronic and IT capabilities.
I just want to make one more distinction. There's a distinction between fiber to the home and Wi-Fi. What people are talking about in terms of gigabit Wi-Fi is just open source Wi-Fi downtown. And just to put it in perspective for you, most cities have what's called just 1 megabyte. We have 1,000 megabytes, which is 1 gigabyte, which means lightning speed. That means if you're an artist that you live in town, if you're an artist that lives in town under the Live Work Sell overlay district, you can upload the pictures of your art and send it anywhere in the world in 2 seconds, and you can make a market there for yourself. It's all about how you leverage this.
All right. We have 2 questions on this one paper here, and we're going to start out with Mrs. Newcomb and ask her the last one on this paper. What future plan do you have for the First and Main?
What plan do I have for First and Main? I wish I owned it, but I don't. I know the owners. We have a very good relationship with the new owners at First and Main, and I have talked to them about their plan, and they have asked me not to tell what it is. However, they have some great plans for that area out there, and I think you all are going to like it. Everything I've heard of are things that I can support. I supported the IMAX and the Cinnabol, and I have always thought that was a great area for redevelopment ever since I had a friend who lived at the Lake Terrace Motel, and I visited there, and not to mention all the other falling down buildings that used to be along there. So my plan is to vote for any good proposal that comes forward.
Yes, ma'am.
For First and Main future plans and the whole South Main end of town, I think they're well on their way. The South Main Merchants Association invited me to speak last month at their meeting, and it's a great group of folks that was very active, very vibrant. There were a lot of people there. It was a very diverse mix of people. So I think they're well on their way. There's a new farmers market that has opened on the south end of town. So there's a lot of stuff that's happening and exciting and coming into that end of town and continuing to increase development, offering different and varieties of retail, restaurant. The IMAX is going to be quite the tourism draw to the South Main end of town. So I think it really is moving in an extremely positive direction, and I'm very excited about the secretive plans that Cecile mentioned.
Well, 4 years ago, I was quoted in the Roanoke Times as saying, what I want to see at First and Main is the anchor, and what I want to see as the anchor is a theater. And 4 years later, that's exactly what we're getting. In the meantime, however, I've been a very, very integral part of developing relationships with the First Main merchants. I helped shepherd them through a very tumultuous time. I've reinstated the attitude and the perception they've had in terms of the relationships with the town. I've helped bring foot traffic there, and I provided the leadership to bring the First Main Merchants Association off the ground, and now it's a full-fledged Merchants Association. I also advised the owners and the business professionals that were representing the owners on how to make common ground with both the First and Main Merchants, as well as the neighborhood and Kennedy Avenue. And I was the MC for the groundbreaking, so there was no prouder vote that I made than the unanimous vote for the IMAX. I see a lot of mix of uses, office space, retail, and I will pass it on.
Well, I certainly supported the IMAX. We had a unanimous vote on council that night, and that was a really, really happy time. My vision for First and Main is to have First and Main full of stores, no empty storefronts. I would love to see that children's museum be open daily, 9 to 9, and have ongoing exhibits. I think we've got a great community that's working on that children's museum. They just had a fundraiser last Saturday night, and they seem to be well on their way. And the owners of First and Main have done a marvelous thing in allowing them critical space. I mean, it's a beautiful spot. It's not tucked away in some little corner in the backside of the center. It is right on their, quote, main street. So I think First and Main is thriving. It's got good owners. It's got good managers. It's working well with the Kennedy Avenue neighborhood right behind it. I think the future is really bright for that sector of town.
Yes, ma'am.
And I just want to continue on. I envision a really healthy mix of local retail, housing, restaurants, maybe even a boutique grocery store. And as Susan mentioned, we do have a children's museum.
I've gone to every restaurant there, and I've shopped at all the stores that I can afford. So I suggest you guys go out there. There's a lot of good stuff going on now.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, the question period will end at 8:20. And each candidate will have 2 minutes for a closing statement. Please hold your applause until the last one give their statement. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with our closing statement. Since we started with Ms. Anderson first, we're going to start with Mrs. Newcomb first
All right.
to give you a closing statement.
Do I start now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I originally ran for council 4 years ago, mainly because this is my hometown, it's my children's hometown, and I love it, and I'd like to protect it and preserve it as it grows. I believe we can have a healthy economy and a great place to live. This takes strong leadership, it takes careful, thoughtful planning, and following the guidance of our comprehensive plan. I am also on the Planning Commission. I'm a certified planning commissioner, and I think I've proven that I'm open-minded, reasonable, but not willing to compromise our quality of life for every development proposal that comes along. I'm not afraid to stand my ground on controversial issues, and I always strive to represent the values of our citizens. I've called my campaign Celebrating Our Progress because I think we've made a lot of progress in the last 4 years. Downtown, we have new recycling, we have a new South Main corridor, a new College Avenue promenade, a new performing arts center, and this new gigabyte Wi-Fi coming along. We have passed CUPs and rezonings for businesses such as the Kroger gas station, the IMAX, offices in the Brownstone, Nest Realty, Kent Square. The town continues to provide services without raising taxes, as I talked about before. These things and more have won us many accolades and awards in the last 4 years. We have strong economic indicators and strong job growth projections. So I'm running for re-election to continue this progress. And I thank you for coming. I thank you for your support. I remind you to vote on November 5th. And remember that we balance our budget every year and we don't shut down.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Newcomb. Ms. April?
Tonight we've heard a lot, we've answered a lot of questions, we've heard a lot of similarities amongst the candidates. I'm not surprised that there's so much similarities because all of us love Blacksburg. All of us truly believe this is a special place. We wouldn't be up here doing this if we didn't. We all have similar goals for the big picture, but it's how we get there, and each of us, how we get there, that's different. That's where our differences lie. So what sets me apart, and why do I think I deserve your vote for town council? I think I deserve your vote because I came to Blacksburg as an undergraduate. Like a large majority of our community, I moved to Blacksburg from another town to go to college. So that allows me to understand the needs, motivations, and challenges that our student population faces. However, I've chosen to make my home here, so I think I'm uniquely qualified to take the insight that I gained as a student and apply that insight to decisions that affect our neighborhoods, businesses, and the future of Blacksburg. I think I also deserve your vote because I'm the mother of a young child. This sets me apart from my opponents and gives a voice to other young families and the challenges we face when finding suitable housing that meets a family's budget in Blacksburg, so we can enjoy the benefits of this community also. And I deserve your vote because I have a decade of business management experience in Blacksburg. I'm an expert in both the study and practice of housing in our community. In a time where almost all of our controversy is centered around business and housing development, it's time to bring a new perspective to town council. It's time to bring a voice to the table that can approach our problems in new and creative ways. I believe in smart growth for Blacksburg. I have the business experience necessary to grow our economy, and I have the knowledge to work towards solving our community's biggest challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. You're next, Ms. Cottrell.
I'm also a native of Blacksburg, and it has been a pleasure to serve you these last 4 years, and it will be an honor to continue to serve 4 more. Thank you, League of Women Voters, for inviting us tonight. I can talk about so many things we've accomplished in less than half a decade. I'd like to say that Blacksburg has changed. We have a beautiful pedestrian promenade downtown. We've improved North Main. We have full storefronts and brand new facades on Main Street and College Avenue, a new arts district, redevelopment projects, a new development housing applications in the pipeline, Wi-Fi initiatives, a new South Main Merchants Association, a business-friendly plan that has been implemented by town staff, more outdoor music events like Mingle on the Market and festivals like Fork and Cork and Brewdoo, and monthly mixers like the Chamber of Commerce or my favorite, Up on the Roof. Oh, and by the way, we're getting an IMAX coming to town. So we can say that Blacksburg has changed, but I would say that our town at the core has remained the same. I have found that instead of reinventing ourselves, I like to think about how we can use what we already have. Our charm, our values, our resolve, our creativity, our entrepreneurial spirit, and use it all to move forward. I don't think that this is a changed election. Rather, an election that is built on how we've changed, but kept our same values as we've progressed. I have put a lot of time and energy and personal effort into building strong relationships with individuals and businesses. It is no accident that you see my signs of support in front of storefronts downtown and every storefront in First and Main and in your neighbor's yard. I'm most proud that if you've called on me, I have called you back. I have listened to you. I have met you in your home. I put a lot of time and energy into this and a lot of time away from my family to do this because I believe that even though we are progressing and moving forward, we are still a small town where personal attention goes a long way. If you feel we've progressed in a positive way, I ask for your vote for me on November 5th.
Ms. Anderson.
Thank you. I want to thank the League of Women Voters and the other co-sponsors for organizing this forum. And I want to thank those of you who have come out tonight this evening to participate in the democratic process. I'm running for re-election to Town Council on a platform of shared community values, smart growth, environmental preservation, a high quality of life for a diverse population, openness in government, active citizen participation in civic affairs. And as a two-term incumbent, I'm running on my record of service and accomplishments since taking office. I've gained valuable leadership experience on council and through my duties as a member of the Blacksburg Housing and Community Development Advisory Board, Blacksburg Partnership Board of Directors, Downtown Blacksburg, Inc., Chair of the Downtown Revitalization Committee, Friends of the Farmers Market, Chair of the New River Valley Agency on Aging, Business Climate Task Force, the Stormwater Stakeholders Advisory Group, and the Women's Resource Center of the New River Valley Board of Directors and past president. As an engaged citizen of Blacksburg for the past 33 years, and one who intends to be here for another 33, I have a good understanding of the values and the concerns of our community, and a vital interest in our town's future. I have a broad experience as a leader, as a facilitator, and as a consensus builder, and as a grassroots activist in a broad range of civic, community, regional, and statewide organizations. I am passionate about what I believe is right, but I'm also a good listener, and I understand the art of compromise. I believe in civility and diplomacy in government. I have enormous energy, and I'm very organized. I am responsible, and I have a strong work ethic. If I am re-elected to Blacksburg Town Council, I will continue to be readily available and responsive to all the people of Blacksburg. I hope you will read over my handbill, visit my website at andersonforcouncil.com, and share your questions, comments, and ideas with me this evening and in the coming weeks, and hopefully, if re-elected, in the coming years. I ask for your vote on November 5th. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, being the president of the NAACP and the League of Women Voters giving me the opportunity to be here among these ladies is just tremendous. I feel that no matter what the outcome is, that there's no losers here. These ladies are fantastic. I wished I was a millionaire. I'd build me a big business in Blacksburg and hire these ladies.
Yes, keep saying that.
And please, let's give them one more big hand, please.